YouTube. So this morning, I got a couple of deliveries throughout Malibu, and I'm pretty sure that Topanga Canyon is open now. So I'm on Topanga Canyon right now, and I'm gonna give it a shot and see if I can actually drive through. I didn't see anything that says that it was closed down, so hopefully it's open. If not, I'll have to come back and go around. So I thought it would be a good opportunity for me to just film the little canyon drive. Basically going from Woodland Hills to PCH. I also have, once I get to Malibu, I got a couple deliveries up in this area that one of my subscribers was wondering about. It's off of Big Rock Drive or Big Rock Road. So I'm gonna go up there and check it out for the first time and see what the damage is looking like up there. This morning, I wanted to talk a little bit about the job market and share with you some of my thoughts on the job market. You know, I listen to a lot of financial podcasts. For whatever reason, I'm really intrigued and fascinated with economics. I love learning about interest rates, the unemployment rate, the bankruptcy rate, just micro and macro economics in general. I love learning about all of the different companies and what they're doing, whether or not they're hiring people or doing massive amounts of layoffs. I'll give you a couple of examples of the people who I really enjoy listening to. One of my favorite YouTube channels is a channel called Thoughtful Money. And the guy who runs the channel, his name is Adam Taggart. And he does all different types of interviews with economists, bankers, realtors, money managers. I love his channel. He's great. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you should really look into Adam Taggart or Thoughtful Money, that YouTube channel. It's great. I love listening to David Rosenberg. I love listening to Danielle DiMartino Booth from QI Research. Jeffrey Gunlock, the Bond King. There's this kid on YouTube, his name is Nick Jurley. He has a company called Reventure Consulting. And his focus is the housing market throughout the United States. So I guess he would be considered a housing data analyst. I love listening to, James Bianco with Bianco Research. There's another YouTube channel called Wealthy On. They got a couple of big hitters. They do interviews with, same thing, all different types of economists and, financial advisors and stuff like that. So Wealthion's another great YouTube channel that if you're interested in those types of things, maybe check out those channels, or that channel, excuse me. Let's see. Michael Pinto. I love listening to Michael Pinto. I love listening to Cameron Dawson. She's great. She gives a macro analysis of the economy every once in a while, and she's so intriguing and she's very fascinated and very data driven. She's great. My favorite is probably Danielle DiMartino, but for whatever reason I'm drawn to her, and I really enjoy the data and information that she gives. Very fascinating. So, going back to the topic of the job market, from what I hear, the job market is not doing so hot. It's not doing so good. And it's not just the tech sector. Although the tech sector is doing massive amounts of layoffs, and they have been for over a year now, they do massive amounts of layoffs in waves and rounds. But it's not just the tech sector. It's also the oil industry. It's the truck driving industry, the freight industry. I've heard that FedEx Freight has gone from doing about 30,000 tons of freight per day. This was pre-COVID. So let's say 2019. FedEx was moving 30,000 tons of freight per day. Now they're doing closer to 12 to 13,000 tons of freight per day. So basically half. And that's a bellwether company. When freight is not being moved, that tells you a lot about the economy and whether or not companies or people, really consumers, are spending money. When they buy things, those things get transported on trucks from one location to the next. That's a major red flag. And it's not just FedEx. It's FedEx, it's UPS, it's XPO. There's a couple of big freight companies. I heard, what was it, a couple of years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, YRC, which is Yellow Trucking Company. This is one of the oldest trucking companies in the United States. It's like a company that was over 100 years old. They went bankrupt. They went belly up. I mean, if maybe their company was run poorly, but I mean, obviously it wasn't doing that bad because it was able to stay in business for over 100 years. But they went belly up. They filed bankruptcy. I think it was either a year or 2 years ago. And now you're talking about, the tech sector. We're seeing Amazon, apparently they've done 18,000 layoffs. Facebook or Meta, they've done 11,000 layoffs, and they're all going to do more. You've got Intel, the semi-chip manufacturing company. Obviously they're global, but I know they have a big headquarters in Oregon. And they've done, apparently over the last couple of years, they've done over 23,000 layoffs. Disney, 7,000 layoffs. Microsoft, 10,000 jobs cut. Dell Computers or Dell Technologies, apparently they've done nearly 20,000 job cuts. And now we have Donald Trump coming in with Doge, like it or not. They're doing thousands of layoffs. I tried to do a little bit of research and figure out exactly how many jobs they're going to be cutting in the future, and it's kind of hard to get an accurate number. But apparently, we're talking tens of thousands of jobs. So we're talking nearly 30,000 federal workers are going to be laid off. We're talking 6,000 IRS workers are going to lose their jobs. That's a lot of jobs. And those are government jobs. You know, it's not just the salary, it's also the benefits and potentially a pension or retirement plan, right? You know, you've got companies like Chevron doing 9,000 job cuts. BP Oil, apparently they've done somewhere close to 12,000 job cuts or layoffs. You've got the banking industry, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, all of which are doing thousands of layoffs. Google, tens of thousands of layoffs at Google. And the list really just goes on and on. You know, and I mean the real estate market as well. Like, apparently the mortgage application rate is at a 30-year low. 30 years ago, we were just coming out of a recession, you know, in the early 90s. You know, so 30 years ago, what would that be? You know, it'd be 1995. So we were in recession in 1991 or something like that. So a couple years post-recession. And not only that, but 30 years ago, the population, there was 50 million less people in the United States. So you have the mortgage application rate at a 30-year low. And 30 years ago, the population was 50 million people less. And we were just coming out of a recession. So, in other words, if you're a realtor and your income is dependent on how many houses you sell, you know, a year, you're in recession. You are in recession. You're not selling houses. Not like you were during COVID. That's for sure. I mean, if you're a car salesman, if you're at Ford, General Motors, Chevrolet, BMW, Volkswagen, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, you're probably in recession as well. And you're a car salesman? Every time I drive by one of these massive, you know, car dealerships, the parking lot's full. Full. And there's nobody on the lot. Nobody. I mean, obviously, I'm talking in a huge, you know, general direction, but generally speaking, I think I'm fairly accurate. You know, there's always going to be a handful of realtors that are killing it. Maybe it's just because of the location that they're in, and there's probably going to be a handful of car dealerships, or more, I don't know, that are selling the hell out of cars. They, you know, you got really good car salesmen out there. But I think that when you take a step back and look at the picture, the bigger picture, Topanga Canyon's closed. I gotta go back. Well, when we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, the economy's not doing so well right now. It really isn't. And we're still in a high interest rate environment. You know, mortgage rates are still 6.5% to 7.5%. You know, the economy's not doing that good. I'm gonna go up here more and see if I can get through. There's a sign that says Topanga Canyon's closed, but only one way to find out. Let's see how long it's closed for. Oh yeah, it's closed. Oh yeah, she's done. Well, yeah, she's done. She's done. We ain't going down there. Back this truck up this freaking hill. Well, it was worth a shot. Come on, get up there. Okay. So, I guess Topanga's still closed. I'll be going to Malibu through Las Virgenes. That's alright. I only lost about 15 minutes. Not a big deal. Yeah, so and you know, when we think about it, it's very unusual how we're not seeing it. All of these layoffs, tens of thousands of layoffs, they're not being reflected in the unemployment rate. As of right now, the unemployment rate's 4%, which is very, very low. And it kind of makes you wonder if that number is accurate. Like, do you trust that data? How can we hear of tens of thousands of jobs being cut from all of these massive corporate companies, and now we're hearing it within the government, and we're not seeing the unemployment rate go up? You know, when I listen to Danielle DiMartino Booth, she used to work for the Federal Reserve, and very often she likes to highlight the fact that the data that they're collecting is data from the past, and it's not as accurate as you would think. Not to mention, most of the data that they collect from, let's say, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, most of the data that they collect from the BLS is old data, and it's lagging. And more often than not, every quarter the BLS does revisions. They'll say that, you know, they're adding a certain amount of jobs to the economy, like let's say 100,000 jobs this quarter, or 200,000 jobs, whatever it might be. And then the next quarter they'll do a negative revision to those jobs. So, we made a mistake, and we said that we created, 100,000 jobs, when in actuality we only created 10,000 jobs. They're doing negative revisions on a quarterly basis. That's unbelievable. Like, your job is to count jobs. That's your job. And you can't even count jobs correctly? It makes you wonder if it's intentional or deliberate. And they're, deliberately calculating the numbers incorrectly to make it seem like the economy is doing better than what it actually is. And you know, we've heard Donald Trump talking about how he wants interest rates to go lower, you know? Which makes sense. You know, if you're a president, you want lower interest rates so more people are incentivized and more companies are incentivized to borrow money. But Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to lower interest rates. That's on Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, chairman. And right now he was cutting interest rates, but they're not cutting interest rates anymore. And I think it's because we're starting to see inflation tick back up. And now it really makes you wonder, Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to dictate interest rates on a federal funds rate, but what he does have the ability to do is increase the unemployment rate. He can fire tens of thousands of workers, which will attribute to a higher unemployment rate. And that could potentially lead to the Federal Reserve starting to cut interest rates. It makes you wonder if that's what the purpose is or the goal is. Obviously, you know, he wouldn't say that. And whether or not you agree with it or disagree with it doesn't really matter. The agenda that Donald Trump is pushing, or the narrative that he's pushing, is DOGE, you know, Department of Government Efficiency. He's cutting tens of thousands of government jobs that they deem to be inefficient or ineffective or whatever. Whether or not you agree with it, doesn't matter. That's what they're doing. So they're kind of pushing this efficiency narrative. Oh, we're going to save might be good, you know. That maybe the government. Well, actually, you know what? The government spending is out of control. It really is, and people, they do need to, you know, cut their spending. They need to stop raising taxes and start cutting spending, and then start allocating the funds better. That's for sure. So I would agree with that. But is that the true purpose? Or is that just the illusion of what, you know, this narrative that they're pushing? But we're trying to be more efficient narrative. Or what are they really trying to get interest rates lower by forcing the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates via a higher unemployment rate? I don't know. I guess only time will tell. So anyways, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts with you on that. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, guys. I got to get back to the one-on-one. Thank you again to all of my subscribers and all of the people who have been liking my videos and watching my videos and, you know, commenting and thumbs up and all that stuff. And I really appreciate it. That's very cool. So thank you again to everyone. I really appreciate it. Until next time, guys. Talk to you later.